Benny, Janet, thank you.
Yes, sir.
This is awesome.
Yes, thank you very much.
The effort, the energy, the time, the thought y'all put into this is impressive.
Yes.
And if it impresses us, think what it must do to the heart of our Father. He said that if you just think on His name, He writes it in the book. Wow, how much more if we put forth this kind of effort to honor a Moedim here. Hallelujah. Well, I'm humbled that Janet asked me to say a few things. I know that I stand in the midst of many Bible students, and that there are so many of you who could stand here instead, and I recognize that. So it is with humbleness that I come before you just to share a few thoughts that I have concerning Sukkot. The first thing I want to do is read the instruction that we received from our Father concerning it out of Leviticus 23. Are you ready for the word?
Yes, sir.
In respect and honor of the word, would you stand while I read this, please? And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the feast of Sukkot, for 7 days unto Yahweh. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. We're entering into that now. You shall do no servile work. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you. And you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly. You shall do no servile work therein. These are the feasts of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh, a burnt offering, a meat offering, a sacrifice, and drink offerings, everything upon His day, beside the Sabbaths of Yahweh, and beside your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your freewill offerings which you give unto Yahweh. Also, in the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep a feast unto Yahweh 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. And you shall take unto you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, the boughs of thick trees, willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim 7 days. You shall rejoice this week. That's the instruction from Yahweh. And you shall keep it a feast unto Yahweh 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh your Elohim. And Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feast of Yahweh. You can be seated. Verse 43 said that Yahweh wants all generations, and that includes ours, to know that He made the children of Israel dwell in booths when I brought them out of Egypt, He said. So Sukkot then is a celebration of deliverance. It's a celebration of relationship. It is a celebration of fellowship. And I want to talk about those three things real quickly. Number one, deliverance. In Sukkot, we remember that Yahweh is a mighty deliverer.
Yes, sir.
Mighty deliverer. Egypt was the mightiest nation on earth. Right. And yet, their power and their might did not require Yahweh to go find some other nation or gather up many other nations to send to Egypt to get His people out. All it took for Yahweh to get them out was one man who would do what He told him to do and say what He told him to say. That's all he had to do. Moses was sent to stand before Pharaoh and deliver a message. What was the message?
Let my people go.
Let my people go. And that's all it was going to take. I mean, I understand Pharaoh was going to be stubborn about it, but you have to understand, we're talking about the mightiest nation on the face of the earth at the time, who had for over 400 years controlled the children of Israel, who were making money off of the children of Israel, who had not the slightest inkling of wanting to turn them loose and let them go. But all it took was a word from Yahweh in the face of Pharaoh, Yahweh saying, "Thus saith Yahweh, let my people go."
Yes, sir.
This is Yahweh speaking. It's not Moses. Moses is just speaking on his behalf.
Right.
It is Yahweh saying, "These are my people, and you're going to let them go." Yahweh is a mighty deliverer. When we need deliverance, many times we need to understand that Yahweh will use a man to deliver to us the words of deliverance.
Right.
Seldom are you going to hear a voice out of heaven when you need deliverance.
Right.
Sometimes you'll hear it in your quiet time. Sometimes you'll hear it in your prayer closet. But many times we need to understand that Yahweh will deliver to us a message, a word that will set us free from somebody else. See, that was the problem that folks had with John the Baptist. They didn't know how to receive him. And the Messiah tried to help them understand that. He said, "What did y'all go out to see? Your problem was your image of what you thought he was. What did you go out to see? A man clothed in soft raiment?" Well, they work in a king's court, he said. But if you went out to see a prophet, yea, he was more than a prophet. And therefore you could receive a message from heaven that would have set you free. One quick testimony, if I can. I was in Fort Worth, Texas. Yahweh sent me there. It was an awesome time being there. But I knew it was time to leave, and I knew Yahweh was telling me to come to North Alabama. I didn't know a soul in North Alabama. All I knew, and Marie and I talked about it over and over again, all we knew was we were supposed to go to North Alabama. Well, knowing you're supposed to go and getting there is two different things. And we talk about it, we pray about it, it burned deep on the inside of us. I was on staff with Jerry Savelle. I was associate pastor of his church. But Yahweh was saying, go to North Alabama. Go to Huntsville. Didn't know a soul. And so I began to try to calculate and think about how much money it's going to take to get from Fort Worth to Huntsville, Alabama, where I don't know anybody and don't have a job. Right? And I kept praying, Yahweh, you're going to have to give us increase. You're going to have to give us money. To do what you're telling us to do, we're going to have money. One morning, Kenneth Copeland was coming to Jerry Savelle's Bible school, and he was going to be teaching the students. So I took off, went down to the school, sat on the front row so I could hear Kenneth Copeland teach these students. He is pacing back and forth across the front, and he's letting it rip, talking, teaching. I'm sitting and listening. And then suddenly he said this in the middle of his sermon. He said, "You don't have to have money to have money." I said, "Yes, sir, that's right." I wasn't talking to him. I knew Yahweh had used a man to give me the words of deliverance that I needed. I said, "Yes, sir, that's right." Now, when I said that, Kenneth Copeland came over in my face. He said, "That is right, isn't it? That's right, isn't it?" "Yes, sir, that's right."
Amen.
Makes sense to nobody else, but it made sense to me. It was the message that I needed to hear from Yahweh. I'm telling you that our Elohim is a mighty deliverer.
Yes, sir.
And we need to understand that you can be sitting and talking or listening to somebody talk and disagree with 90% of what they're saying.
Right.
And Yahweh can use them to deliver a message of deliverance to you.
Right.
That's how He works. We've said it this way for several years in the Assembly of Yahweh. We saw this principle as we started studying the Scriptures over and over and over and over again. Wherever there is a need for Yahweh, finish it for me.
There's a need for man.
Wherever there's a need for Yahweh, there's a need for a man. Because that's how Yahweh works in the earth. When Yahweh got ready to deliver the children of Israel out of Egypt, He went to the backside of a desert and He said to a man,
Right.
I've heard the cry of my people and I'm going to deliver them. Come now.
Right.
I'm going to send you. That's the way He always works.
Yes, sir.
Always works. Wherever there's a need for Yahweh, there's a need for a man. Yahweh will deliver through a man and by His words. He knows how to deliver. I want to read this passage out of 2 Peter. Listen to what Peter said about Yahweh's deliverance. He said, Yahweh knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. Lot was in Sodom. If there was ever a hellhole, it was Sodom.
Yeah.
He was hated, he was despised, not by a few people in Sodom, but by everybody in Sodom.
Right.
And he finally pushed their button one too many times. He had been a righteous man. No matter how wicked that place was, he had been a righteous man. And when those angels showed up and he brought them in, and those men wanted to come in and take them, he stood at the door and said, no. That was the last straw.
Yeah.
They had had it with him. That was the last straw. He would have died that night.
Yeah.
But Peter said, Yahweh knows how to deliver the righteous.
Amen.
And judge the wicked.
Yes, sir.
All in one move. We need to understand how mighty a deliverer Yahweh is, able to judge the wicked thoroughly and deliver a righteous man all at the same time. Peter said in that same passage, Yahweh spared not the world, but saved Noah. You see how good a deliverer he is?
Right.
He spared not the world, but He delivered Noah. Whatever we need to be delivered from, He's pretty capable, very capable of doing. Sukkot's about deliverance. Number 2, it's about a relationship. Yahweh set out to establish a relationship, reestablish a relationship with the children of Israel immediately. He doesn't want to just help them in their time of need. He wants to be their Elohim. He wants to have a relationship with them. Here is how He set out to do that. The first thing He did was He had identified or re-identified Himself to them by His name.
Right. Yeah.
And Moses knew that that would be an issue, so before Moses went, he said, okay, I'm going to go. If I go, the first thing they're going to say is, who is the Elohim that sent you?
Right.
They're going to want to know your name. What is your name? Yahweh re-establishes to them, reintroduces to them His name. It's imperative if you're going to have a relationship with the Creator of the universe, you know His name. Why do I say it's imperative? Because in the Masoretic text, His name was used 6,823 times. Whosoever shall call upon the name of Yahweh shall be saved. We need to know to call upon that name. You go read Psalm 91. Psalm 91 says, because He has known my name, He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will deliver him. So the first thing he did is he re-identified himself by his name. Second thing, he reestablished his calendar.
Right.
On the night of their deliverance, as he's talking about Passover, he says to them, this month shall be the first month of the year to you. Because if we're going to have a relationship with him, we have to understand how he works through time.
Right.
And he is going to set up appointed times in which he expects to meet with us so that he can have a relationship with us. And in order to do that, we got to know when the first month is and the first day of the month. And then from that, we set the calendar for the rest of the year. So the next thing Yahweh did was reestablish his calendar. If you're going to have a relationship with Yahweh, you need to know his name. You need to be familiar with his calendar. The third thing he did was he delivered them by the blood of the Lamb.
Right.
You're going to have a relationship with him. There is no remission of sin without the shedding of blood.
Right.
We talked about this yesterday in our assembly that you don't get invited to Sukkot unless you've also gone through Passover. Passover is imperative before you can come to Sukkot. You have to come through the blood. You have to be delivered by his Son. You have to have salvation by grace through faith in his Son if you're going to be invited to Sukkot.
Yes, sir.
All right? So he delivered them by his blood. The next thing he did, he took them straight to Mount Sinai. 50-day journey. Why did he take them to Sinai?
Establish his laws.
The relationship we have with Yahweh is always based on a covenant.
Right.
You cannot have a relationship with Yahweh outside of covenant. Won't work.
Yep.
And we need to understand this about covenant. There is no such thing as a covenant that only binds one party.
Right. Right.
No such thing. A covenant is binding upon both parties.
Right.
And that's the reason Yahweh sent Moses back down with the instruction. And he was to read it to the people. And Yahweh was saying to them, if you will do this and be my people, then I'll be your Elohim.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But it is a relationship based on covenant. And the people answered and said, all that he has said, we will do.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Go read Deuteronomy 28. Yahweh said, if you will do this, if you will hearken unto my voice, these are the things I will do for you.
Right. Amen.
Right? So it's always based upon a covenant. Well, Yahweh delivered them out of Egypt in one day to establish a relationship with them. But it's been said, I say it again, he delivered them out of Egypt in one day, but it took 40 years to get Egypt out of them.
Right.
Here are two lessons they had to learn quickly if they were going to have a relationship with Yahweh. I think it's worth us talking about. First thing they had to learn was that Yahweh hated murmuring. Murmuring may have been okay in Egypt, but murmuring is not okay if you're having a relationship with Yahweh. He will not tolerate it. Complaining, bickering, arguing, getting disgusted and aggravated and frustrated, causing your mouth to say things that ought not to say, Yahweh will not tolerate it.
Right.
And they had to learn that quick. You remember they came up to the bitter water? And they started murmuring against Moses and against Aaron and against Yahweh. Didn't go well for them. This is where Yahweh taught them something. Moses tried to warn them. Moses tried to say to them, y'all are not murmuring against me.
Right.
I'm not your Elohim. You're murmuring against Yahweh.
Right.
Somebody tell me what Moses did. After he got through talking to them, you got the bitter water, you got 4 million people that are thirsty. What did Moses do next? Anybody know? He prayed.
Yeah.
And Yahweh showed him what, Janet?
I was going to say, put the stick in the water.
Showed him a stick, showed him a tree.
Right.
Cut it down, threw it in the water. What happened to the bitter water?
Sweet.
Bitter water became sweet. And then Moses went back, Yahweh told Moses, and Moses went back and told the people, this is a statute.
Right.
You know what that means? Yahweh said, we're in a relationship with one another. Murmuring won't work with me. This is a statute. What just took place is a statute. It's a pattern. Pay attention to the pattern. Anytime you have a problem, anytime you're facing something you don't know what to do, anytime fear's coming, anything that's about to happen, don't gripe, complain, cry. It won't work with me. Here's what you need to do. Go aside, pray. I will tell you or show you what to do to fix it. Woo!
Yeah.
This is a statute, he said. We're just getting started on the journey. We got a long way to go. He said to them, you need to learn this statute. You're facing an enemy. You're facing a day of thirstiness. You pray, I'll show you what to do. The next time that they got thirsty, Moses prayed. Yahweh said, go up and speak to that rock. Well, first time he said what? Strike the rock. Strike the rock. Well, how's that going to work? Because Yahweh said it would.
Right. Right.
Right?
Amen.
That's how Yahweh works. Remember Elijah? He had said to the king, it will not rain again till I say so.
Right.
Well, it didn't. That means all the crops die. That means there's nothing to eat. I'm going to hurry. Rain's coming. Yahweh then said to Elijah, go to the brook. I've commanded ravens to feed you there. Right?
Right.
The brook dried up. Well, you don't start murmuring and complaining. I can't believe you're doing this, Yahweh. I came out here like you told me to. Now there's no water. No. You wait for further instruction.
Right.
He's a mighty deliverer. All we got to do is find out what it is he wants us to do. Right? And so he listens, and Yahweh says, go to Sidon. I have commanded a widow woman there to sustain you.
Yeah.
All we've got to do is be able to hear the instruction. Yahweh wants to be in a relationship with us.
Yes, sir.
Complaining and murmuring won't work, but there are statutes that will work. The second thing they had to learn, number one, Yahweh hates murmuring. Number two, they had to learn real quickly, you can't worship him any way you want to.
Right.
While Moses is up on the mountain getting the statutes of Yahweh, getting the instruction from Yahweh, what do they do down at the bottom of the mountain?
Make a golden calf.
They made a golden calf. But that's not bad. That's not real bad, is it? Because they didn't say it was a different Elohim. They said, this is Yahweh that delivered us out of Egypt. And we're going to declare this to be a feast unto Yahweh. Surely that wouldn't upset him, would it? I mean, why can't we make up our own holidays? Why can't it, as long as we give it a new name and as long as we declare it to be for him, why isn't that okay? Because he won't accept it.
Right. Right.
He refused it. They all almost died that day were it not for Moses intervening for them. They had to learn quick, if you're going to have a relationship with Yahweh, you cannot worship him any way you please. I'll close with this and we'll get out of here. Sukkot's about deliverance, it's about relationship, and it's about fellowship. Sukkot is to remind us there's coming a day when Yahweh will tabernacle among us, tabernacle with us. The New Jerusalem will come down. This is about fellowship. Yahweh literally wants to hang out with us.
Right.
He does. He wants to forgive us of all of our sin, to heal us of all of our diseases, to crown us with loving kindness and tender mercy. That's what He wants to do. And He wants to talk to us, and He wants us to talk to Him. So many people think prayer is about saying stuff. Right. The most important part of prayer is listening for something.
Yes, sir.
Amen. Fellowship. Sukkot's about fellowship. Stand up. It may be a small thing. It may be a big thing. I don't know. But I do know this, that our Messiah worked many, many miracles. If they were all written down, the world wouldn't contain the books, John told us.
Right.
A great many of the miracles that He did perform, that were performed by Him, were done on feast days.
Right.
So what I want to encourage you to do tonight is to not let this time slip by, not let this week slip by. If you've got something you need to be delivered from, whether it's a physical ailment, whether it's a family situation, whether it's a job, work, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, Yahweh wants to give you the answer that delivers you. So right now, just think of what that is. And in your heart or with your voice, just say to the Father, Father, show me how you want to deliver me. I'm not going to complain about it anymore. I'm not going to murmur. Show me how you're going to deliver me. He's faithful, and He will. I'm so confident of that, I say to you what He commands me to say. Yahweh bless you and keep you. Yahweh make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yahweh lift up His countenance upon you and give you shalom. Nothing missing, nothing broken. As His name is put upon you, so shall He bless you.
to see